The stream may be split into two parts. I hope I've solved the technical issues. We're just watching the tail end of qualifying now. We've just missed Friedman going pole. Anderson still doing everything they can to make up those 0.4 of a second. Yakinen putting a cork of a lap to go P3 as well. McCutcheon 9/10 behind. Let's just continue to see how this goes on. And thank you for joining us. That person watching now shows that we are indeed live. And Anderson puts it on pole position. 144.4. A couple of more cars coming round. We've got Spanu in the Aston Martin and the 227 car of Strelitz. Both still to complete a qualifying lap. This is the final laps of qualifying. Spanu crosses the line, does not improve, stays 5th. And Strelitz moves into P10. So that is our order for the race. We have Anderson in first with a cracking lap time, 144.420. Friedman just in behind, less than 1/10 of a second between them, and we can see the Porsche's weakness now, the straight line speed in sector 1, making up for it in the rest of the lap. Yakinen with the fastest final sector of everybody in P3, 145.0, half a second, nearly half a second behind the front two. McCutcheon exactly 1 second behind. Spanu in 5th. Cooters in 6th in that BMW M4 with Roos 7th. Cotton in 8th. The 3 BMWs line their stern. The Porsche of Martins in the 171 Porsche 2.1 seconds behind with a 146.6. Strelitz with a 146.8 exactly. 11th is Ronnie, J. Ronnie in the Aston Martin. Just edges out Mihaly by a tiny margin, less than 1/10 of a second between them as well. Volton in 13th, and Davies rounds off the grid in 14th. And that will be our grid for the race. So while we wait for that, we'll just see if we can pull up the current championship standings, and we'll run through those with you. So this championship table particularly hard just to find, but we will pull it up for you just now, and we'll be able to go through. Anderson with a cracking time there. I wish we could see some replays now. As the cars just hit the grid, we have 3 minutes. Now these drivers in these 3 minutes will just be optimising their setup for the current track temperatures. And the current track conditions, just to make sure they get their tyres into the right window. So let's go through the standings. In first position, and I think the current champion, we have Will Friedman, who's starting the grid in P2. Hanowitz, who is not present tonight, was second, and that did not start, I think, will hand the championship to Friedman. We'll double check that just now. Anderson is in third with 820 points. It does get a little bit tighter as you move further down. However, we've got Danny McCutcheon on 739 and Berryman on 734, but Berryman doesn't appear to be present this evening. Below them we have Alessandro Pereira, 627. Laszlo Mihaly, 553 points. Tom Cotton, 541, so that will be close between them this evening. Sterling on 509. Again, also doesn't seem to be present. Nesbitt is on 454, again not present this evening. That was already been aware the last couple of races they weren't going to be able to make it. So as we can see, it is pretty tight. Some drivers new to the series filling in for the missing drivers a lot further down, not really competing within the other drivers in the championship. So that's the rundown of the championship. We've got a couple of seconds now just for these drivers just to finalise their setups, to get things sorted. We'll be hopefully making sure they have the right amount of fuel on board. We have a 30-minute race for these drivers just to get round. That's enough time just for the tyres to go off a little bit towards the end of each stint. Anderson now flashing his lights. Hopefully all the drivers do remember to press drive. It looks like we're okay in that respect. Everyone at the back, everyone got the lights on. It looks like we've got a car there yet to put its lights on. And I think they've made the start. We'll see just now as we await Anderson getting us away from the line for the formation lap, and away the front two go. Yakinen, McCutcheon on the way now as well. There we go, everyone's moving off, and even though the headlights aren't on, they have been able to get going. As we see this fantastic shot of the helicam down the straight, the lights of these cars brightening the dark, twisty Hungaroring. Yakinen definitely found himself in a good position here. The front four cars, all different manufacturers, so not showing that it's any one particular type of car's type of circuit. They all seem to have a chance this evening. Yakinen there in third, definitely looking to impose themselves on Friedman and Anderson and not let them have the monopoly of the race this afternoon or this evening, whoever you're watching just now. 3 BMWs there, line astern, all warming their tyres, and it is very cold tonight. I think we're down to 10 degrees just now. Down to 10 degrees. Yep, so they'll all be looking to generate as much heat into their car. Careful there, Strolitz. And they'll do that by weaving the car side to side, maybe holding the brake pedal as they're driving along very gently, not to wear out the brakes, but that will generate some heat, of course, which will dissipate into the tyres. Once they get the heat up in the tyres, that will also bring the tyre pressures up, which is what they need for the grip. They will need some grip that way as well, at least if they can get the contact patch on the tyre absolutely perfect. They won't have too much drag down the straight, and they will have enough surface off that tyre which will help them with their grip in this tight, twisty section here, this aerodynamically challenging left-right section. To the back of the grid there has Davies taking the start. Now Davies is not taking the start in the pit lane. Hopefully they're okay and they are able to continue. Pit lane start might be one of the better options, as it will allow you to avoid any potential chaos at the start now, as Anderson just brings them now into formation. as they come round the second to last corner. All the cars now bunched up. Keeping around the last turn now. Yakinen with a huge gap back there to Friedman. And McCutcheon, everyone may hopefully in position. Anderson's already almost gone. And they now bunch up. That's them now bunching up. Anderson just Friedman needs to watch his starting position there.
Green line, give it all you got.
And we are green. As we see them leading down to the front. Friedman just poking ahead of the front. There's contact at the back already. The 420 car of Davies out of the race. Don't know what happened there. Friedman runs a little bit wide. Keeps the foot in the throttle. Now has the inside line on the marbles on the outside there. Anderson just tries to keep it round the outside. The two do not make contact. Friedman does well to not understeer, but Anderson's sticking his nose up the inside of turn 3. And that's... Friedman had to bow out of that one. The two are still side by side. This is fantastic stuff. Into turn 4, but two cars do not go round here. They'll need to back up as the driver tracker on the left just updates itself as to see where everyone is. We have Anderson still in first, Freeman, Yakinen and McCutcheon very close with each other. Martins and Ronnie. Spanu just behind, flashing lights there from Ronnie. Strelitz at the back there, Mihaly, Roos and Davies, who looked like they had that incident there on the starting straight. Don't know what happened with that one. Friedman still all over the back of Anderson, but a great start from these front two. Appears to put a little bit of distance between themselves and the Yakinen. McCutcheon just holding on to the back, as is Martins. There's a small gap further back to J, Ronnie and Spanu, both in the Aston Martins. Cotton in the BMW, putting them two under pressure now as well. Volton, Cooters, Strelitz, Mihaly, Roos and Davies still bringing up the pack at the back there. And Friedman runs a little bit wide into the final corner. He will get a better exit, but Yakinen in that Audi we know is no slouch in a straight line, and we see that slipstream effect. AMG power versus Audi power, two German manufacturers, two mammoths of engine engineering, pushing their engines as hard as they'll go down that straight. The straight's not long enough on the Yakinen there though to capitalise. These front four now very close. McCutcheon just dropped Martins a little bit there. Volta with the fastest lap of the race so far. Strelitz, they're still in P7. Martins, any issues there? Martins appears to have dropped back a little bit from McCutcheon. Maybe an error coming out of turn 3. But Anderson has now got Friedman on their tail for company. And Friedman applying the pressure. Anderson very high on the curb, on the inside curb, that sausage curb through the chicane, putting them a little bit out of sorts. Now back under control, but the pace of these two at the front already dropped, and that's McCutcheon. McCutcheon has made a move past the Yakinen. We just missed that one off shot. McCutcheon making the move stick up into the podium position. Yakinen down into 4th. Martins just running wide there, missing the apex, keeping it on the track. That's going to open the door for Ronnie a little bit, and these two very close. Cotton and Spanu, the BMW, attacking that Aston Martin, the number 18 Aston Martin, 227. Strelitz off the track, coming around that fast section, maybe lost it on entrance, maybe hit the curb or something. Friedman still applying that pressure to that Porsche. We know it is not the fastest in a straight line, but around this track, with all the corners, all the twisty sections, that Porsche will make time up. But Friedman hooking up that apex absolutely perfectly now, has the run on the Porsche. Anderson just taking the middle of the track, positioning the car fantastically. It looks like now Strelitz has moved on to recover after that spin there, just coming across the start finish straight now. 19 seconds off the back of Davies. They'll have some work to do to catch that one up. These front two have dropped. 3rd and 4th place McCutcheon and Yakinen. Martins just behind there now as well. And Martins loses the rear. Martins loses the rear. That allows Ronnie and Spanu, everyone going through now as well. A yellow flag out. Spins it round, but they're going to be at the back of the grid now, bar one. Friedman with the fastest lap last time around, all over the back of Anderson now. These two are pushing each other very hard round here. Anderson not... Oh, is it Friedman? That's only one line round there. You'll not get two through there. At least not successfully. Both cars using all the track limits and more. McCutcheon still in P3 holding off, but the action does appear to be back here. Martins, as we see now, drops way down the order. Yep, they were all the way down. The driver track is now updating itself. I thought Martins has somehow recovered, but they've not. Ronnie now looks like a bit of a train holding up Spanu and Cotton. The 27 and the 18 car, both in the same livery. But we'll just quickly catch up with these two at the front. As we know, it looks like actually Friedman's dropped off a little bit there, maybe a mistake coming through the last couple of corners, but Friedman's that closing speed on the brakes. McCutcheon right off, taking a lot of curb, but a lot of curb there, but making it work, hooking up that apex, doing everything they can to keep Niakanen behind. These front four already pushed out a 5-second gap to 5th place. Some pace from these four at the front. Again, all different manufacturers all competing. That looks like a move. Ronnie and Spanu very close. There might have just been some contact there. Looks like they've all made it through just fine. Still carrying on as normal. These front two, again, Friedman slowly closing the pressure on. Niakanen not letting McCutcheon go at all. Let's come on board with these three here now, as they're just beginning to slowly settle into their race pace. But we've got Ronnie, Spanu, Ronnie and Cotton all close to each other, all fighting each other. We've only been 7 minutes into this race. We've already had a lot of action. Strelitz, they're still at the back. We had another accident, not too sure. Davies has moved back up to 12th position. It's a good comeback drive from Davies. We'll keep an eye on that one as this race goes on. Anderson now pulled at a second. The front four now separated a little bit, but the closing speed by Friedman on the brakes into turn one is something Anderson will need to be aware of. Let's quickly catch up with these three. I don't think... that's very late on the brakes from the BMW. Avoids the collision. We've got a good drive out of there. And the bottom half of the grid still fighting just as hard. Some things do end up with better racing at the rear. And it's really good for these guys to get to hone their racecraft. But the absolute relentless pace of these guys up at the front is incredible. They've now dropped McCutcheon by a couple of seconds and Niakanen, not able to hang it with both Anderson and Friedman at the top there. It looks like Spanu has taken Ronnie now, and looks like they have a bit more pace actually. We'll see if they can make any inroads on Niakanen and McCutcheon, the group just in front, as Ronnie still continues to hold off that BMW of Cotton. Now let's join these two at the front, because it looks like Friedman is now back in a position. Looking to make that move. Friedman takes the wider line, but gets a little bit out of shape on the inside curb, and that's maybe cost them an opportunity down into turn one. But we've seen the closing speed of that red Mercedes on the brakes. Look at the difference, and look how close they get, that Constantina effect, and that's put Anderson onto the AstroTurf on that grass. There's definitely some pressure now being applied. Anderson, it's a warm night, could potentially feel in the heat from the smoking Frenchman. Cotton very close now to the back of Ronnie. A couple of close battles going through the field here. We've now got Mihaly and Bolton there. Davies seems to have cleared Roos as well. Davies making a fantastic comeback drive through the field. But let's come back up to these two at the front again, because Anderson is really beginning to feel the heat. All over the track. Again, Friedman very close around this very tight twisty section. But there's only one racing line through that part of the track. Friedman again looking to make the overtaking move, take advantage of that Porsche's lack of straight line speed. Gets themselves the wide entrance to straighten up that exit and get their foot down early. Anderson in that Porsche, we know, is very draggy with that big rear wing on the back, and we've seen the Mercedes on the closing speed again. Look how close that Mercedes gets under braking to that Porsche. The number 8 Mercedes applying all the pressure in this first half of the race, and Anderson runs a little bit wide. Thought that there was a door open there for the Mercedes driver of Friedman. Friedman runs a little bit wide there, just lifts off the throttle to make sure the car doesn't spin. Very high on the curb there from Anderson, but and Friedman runs a little bit wide. But these two have now dropped McCutcheon by 3 seconds, who's also put another 3 seconds between themselves and Niakanen. Spanu in the Aston Martin, 7 seconds now off the back, and it looks like Ronnie is still holding off Cotton. Maybe Cotton's made a mistake, a couple of seconds behind now. But I don't want to take my eyes off this group for 1 second, because they are so closely matched. The tight twisty sections, the traction that Porsche gets out of corners, but the Mercedes under braking and the stability and power of that AMG engine, making Anderson think about every move. Every apex has to be hit, and Anderson takes a really tight line into here. We've seen that in qualifying. Friedman a little bit wider, tries to straighten up the exit, but again the back end squirming under throttle. But we're going to see the closing speed again of that Mercedes. It does look a little bit closer. Can we see a move on the brakes into turn 1? We're not seeing it this time. Very sensible driving from these two. We've got a car in the pit lane. Roos is in the pits. We'll keep an eye on them to see if they make their way back out. And we've got a close fighting cars here. We've got Davies and Martins. Davies defending from Martins after both of these guys making recovery drives. I don't think they're close enough for a move to occur down there. Both these Aston Martins of Spanu and Ronnie pushing each other along the track. Anderson, it looks like, has pulled out a slight gap now from Friedman at the front. So we'll just see these two Aston Martins now. We can give those guys a rest. They've given us the action. They've done well so far. These two Aston Martins also seem extremely similar on pace. It's going to be hard to separate these two. A little further back, and it looks like we've got Bolton and Mihaly in the Aston Martin, defending from Bolton's 55 BMW. We seem to have entered the start phase of the race now, where the drivers might just beginning to feel their grip disappearing from their tyres. We are 15 minutes in. The tyres should be good enough to last, but they will certainly not be at their freshest. Just behind this lot we've got Davies under pressure from Martins. Martins a bit closer this time, but that Porsche is just not as quick in a straight line. We've seen that with the two up front, we're seeing it here as well. Davies' Audi is very quick in a straight line, has
we
a
are
lot
at the
of
halfway
torque,
mark, still a long way to go.
and somehow we're already at the halfway mark. After this fantastic race we've had so far, I think Roos may have thrown in the towel for race 1 for the first 30-minute race. They don't appear to have came out the pit lane, either that or they have an absolute ton of damage and they're taking a while to repair that one. And we see now Anderson appears to have opened up a little bit of a gap through 8 laps of relentless pressure. Possibly maybe Friedman's put too much through their tyres. Again, see, Anderson likes that tight line through the final corner, Friedman likes the wide line. Both playing to the strengths of their car, and that is a sign of two brilliant drivers who know what their cars can and can't do. Anderson knows the Porsche's great traction, didn't need to take that flat line, while Friedman knows that AMG power over the Porsche in the straight line is much higher and uses that on the final corner. Now this time Martins is a lot closer to Darren Davies there in the Audi. We'll see if maybe that Porsche can use that slipstream to stay in touch. I do think that it's maybe just a little bit quick, but the Audi is a little bit deep on the brakes. Bolton in that BMW a little bit conservative on the brakes and nearly met in the middle. Davies feels the need to go defensive into turn 2. That will compromise them on exit, but they do claim the apex. Davies claims the apex there. Both using that AstroTurf, brave of them to do so. Fair play to Strelitz, still pounding round. They've caught up the gap a little bit. They were 20 seconds behind the 12th place, and they've moved up, and they moved ahead of Roos as well. So that's one of the benefits of getting your head down and sticking in. So up front, with just over 12 minutes to go, we have Anderson who crosses the line after completing their 10th lap around this Hungaroring circuit. Friedman in P2, McCutcheon in third, just almost holding on to these two in front, keeping them honest, ready to pounce on any mistake. Niakinen doing the same thing with McCutcheon, just in case there's a sniff of a podium, and these front four have dropped everyone else. Spanu now in the 18 Aston Martin in 5th. Ronnie in the identical car in the number 27 livery BMW in 6th. Cotton in that pure white BMW there in 7th. Couters in 8th. Mihaly in 9th in a striking yellow liveried Aston. Bolton in 10th. Davies in 11th, still holding on to 11th, with Martins applying the pressure. Strelitz again showing their pace. They've caught up 7 seconds in about as many laps. And Roos has thrown in the towel for race 1, 3 laps behind, now in the pit lane. Now we're watching these two put on a fantastic fight. And Martins seems so much closer this time around. Again, as we've seen from the front two, trying to take the wider line, but got on the exit on the power a little bit too early that time. That's going to give Davies a little bit of a breather and a down into turn one this time around. Let's have a look now back at the front. As we can see, Friedman now has got the lasso out and wrapped it round the back of that bumper on the Porsche, or Anderson's Porsche, and is slowly reeling himself in. McCutcheon's lasso not long enough to do that to the back of Friedman, but still keeping in touch. 5 seconds means he can capitalise on any mistake, but a little bit high over that inside curb. Keeps the car going in the right direction. Great car control from McCutcheon there. Now we're going to just jump on now to the back of this Mercedes and Porsche battle, because Friedman is now all over the back. Looks like they've ran wide, but we've seen this before. Tries to straighten up the exit to get on the power, knowing that that Porsche does not have the same strength in a straight line as the Mercedes, and the closing speed, but 7/10 is a long way back to come from. But the closing speed on the brakes, and that was so close to contact from these two. Friedman just manages to get out of it enough to avoid the contact, but this is coming all to a head in these final 8.5 minutes of racing at race 1 for Racing Series Europe. And the finale, the final race of the season. If it finishes like this, Friedman will become champion. Anderson really did need Friedman to have a poor result to take that title tonight in both races, but he's not going to let it go. He's not going to just move over. He wants to win. He wants to secure potentially P2 in the championship with an on-shore tonight. So I'm going to stick with these two just now, but we're going to keep an eye on Martins and Davies in P11 and 12, because they two have also been pushing each other, and we see again that Mercedes on the brakes, the closing speed is just phenomenal, and that is going to be the opportunity down into turn one. We know it's very hard to overtake around this Budapest circuit. Just a couple of miles out of town is the Hungaroring, and we're seeing just a couple of feet between first and second after 23 minutes of racing. And we'll see again the closing speed here. I think maybe Friedman's a bit too far behind, but the closing speed is definitely the strength of that red Mercedes, and we can see the pressure being put on that silver and pink Porsche of Anderson. Martins again now. We'll just jump to these guys at the back, putting on a show for us. Both these drivers running recovery races here tonight, both have decent pace, but fighting each other is a fantastic thing to watch. Martins trying their best to use that slipstream, but as we see at the front as well, the straight line speed of the Porsche under braking. Look at that! The Audi nervous on the brakes, but a little bit conservative, and Davies just on the grass there, maybe looking left into the next corner and drifting right. But Friedman now all over the back of that Porsche, absolutely relentless. Niakinen closing up on McCutcheon now as well, just a couple of seconds between those guys. We'll keep an eye on that one too, and Friedman so close to the back of that Porsche this time around as they come round the second to last corner. Anderson again takes that tight line. Friedman a little bit wider, opens up the corner. I know I keep saying it, but it's happening again. I just call it as I see it. they do look a little bit closer this time, and that's maybe within a move, considering the move on the brakes. We've seen the closing speed of the Mercedes, but that Porsche so much later on the brakes this time around keeps it in place. We'll see them coming round turn 2, and then we'll double check on the guys behind, because there's a couple of cars now coming together for this final 5 minutes of intense fighting. Race 1, Race Series Europe finale, round 10, season 1, putting on a fantastic show for us to watch. Season 2 sign-ups are available on SimGrid now. If you have a look on the simgrid.com and follow Racing Series Europe for details on how to sign up. They'll be running a multi-class BMW M4 versus BMW M2 champion single race in a couple of weeks time. I think a week on Saturday, and then season 2 multi-class Monday Madness will start the following week. Get a load of that on the SimGrid. More information available on how to sign up there. And we've now got 4 minutes left. Track temperature has now dropped to 9 degrees. So tyre temperature will be more important than ever. We did see Anderson feeling the need in qualifying to weave left and right to keep the temperature, and maybe they're struggling for tyre temperature, something they can sort out for race 2. It looks like the Porsche maybe did not get away from that corner as well as it usually has, because the Mercedes driver put it on the pressure a lot closer this time. But Anderson very deep on the brakes, that's opened up the apex. And they're now alongside each other into turn 2. Anderson on the right hand side, on the inside line. Friedman now on your left. Round the outside, thinks about it. Anderson with the shorter route round there just keeps the lead of the race. Another couple of laps to go, and they're still fighting to the very end of race 1. Räikkönen closed now within a second of McCutcheon. Potentially that Aston struggling for tyre grip. As we said, they may begin to go off towards the end. Mihaly 1.2 behind behind Couters. David appears to have dropped Martins now. Maybe Martins now struggling a little bit. Strelitz now closing on the back of Martins. For someone who is 20 seconds behind after 3 laps, to be there is a fantastic performance from them. Great drive. Friedman now dropped off a little bit from the back of Anderson after that pressure. We'll see if they can close back up in the next couple of corners. They may only get 1 or 2 more chances down into turn 1. But now McCutcheon appears to be struggling with Räikkönen only 6/10 behind as we enter the final stages of this race. Around the second to last corner, we'll maybe just follow these guys and see just what's happened to McCutcheon. You know, fuel might even be an issue. They might be saving fuel to get to the end. Either that or Räikkönen's found a ton of pace and just reeled in the McCutcheon. The front two have went through turn 1 in the same order. Räikkönen using the pace, the straight line speed of that Audi, and look how much time they're gaining on the brakes. Maybe the tyres are shot on the Aston Martin. Spanu now in 20 seconds behind those guys, but generated a healthy gap to Ronnie also in the Aston Martin. Martin's now 4 seconds behind. Has Strelitz gone in front? No, Strelitz looks like maybe they've had another mistake and they've dropped now 16 seconds behind. Friedman now with an 8/10 of a second. Räikkönen even closer to the back of that big rear wing on the Aston Martin. So these front 4 not giving up, battling to the very, very end as they've come through this twisty section now. White flag being waved by the marshal there for some reason. Is that Räikkönen? Räikkönen's got in front of McCutcheon. McCutcheon's made a mistake, but has the drive off this corner. Will they think about a move down the inside? Niakanen goes defensive. Have they overshot? Niakanen loses the rearward exit, and then they're very close. Niakanen has to get out of it to avoid contact. McCutcheon goes back into P3. There's a half-second gap between the front two.
Leaders on final lap now.
Leader now on the final lap. This will be the final lap of the race. We have one more for these two to go round. McCutcheon went down to P4, back up to P3. So much action going on in this final closing stages of race 1. And look how close that Audi gets. And the Aston Martin runs wide. McCutcheon runs a little bit wide. Niakanen moves over to the inside just to let McCutcheon know he's still there, but a bit far behind to make a move. Anderson still under pressure from that red Mercedes. It just will not leave his rear view mirror. These two are now 3/10 apart. It's even closer as they go through turn 5. This long right-hander. It's so close between these front two. Anderson all over that curb. Keeps it steady. This left kick and then this long sweeping right in third gear, and it looks like Freeman has the pace round there, using all of the track and a little bit more for good measure. It's the final lap of race 1. These two have put on an epic show. There's now only a couple of tenths between them. Can Freeman make a move down the inside into the final corner? I think this one's done. Freeman tries the same line as Anderson, but look at the traction that Porsche gets off there. That's why that's not been done this entire race. Great driving. Anderson crosses in first, Freeman second. It looks like Niakanen, after putting on that late charge, is going to have to finish for third, for fourth, as McCutcheon takes the final podium spot. Spanu now coming around the second to last corner. And it looks like Ronnie and Cotton are very close. We'll keep an eye on that just very quickly as we come through the final stages. Spanu through the final corner brings the Aston Martin home in 5th. Ronnie in the 27 Aston in 6th. Only at 3/10 of a second ahead of Cotton. Great late drive, late push from Cotton. Mihaly brings it a steady race home. Good driving from them in P8. Cooters in 9th, both in 10th. Davies, it looks like, has been able to hold on to 11th, kept Martins behind them after that sustained drive. Martins in 12th in that Porsche. Strelitz, 2 spins, has kept the car going, is going to finish 13th in the last of the running drivers. But by continuing to drive, has finished ahead of Roos, who threw in the towel in the pit lane. That is your classified order for race 1. And what a race that has been. And now I get to take a short break after we quickly run down these drivers. So we've got Anderson. There we go. Anderson finishes 3/10 of a second ahead of Friedman. Friedman with the fastest lap of that race, a 1:44.887. Great pace. McCutcheon brings home the final podium spot to Aston Martin in the 778 car. Niakanen doing a fantastic bit of pressure at the end there, takes 4th. Honestly thought they were maybe going to take that 3rd place. They did for a second. A little bit hard on the exit of the 3rd to last corner, and that allowed McCutcheon to take advantage of that back through. Spanu in 5th brings home Aston Martin in 5th. Great drive from them. Ronnie 2 and a bit seconds behind. Just holds off the solid white BMW of Cotton. Mihaly with a solid drive in 8th. Cooters 9th. Volton 10th. Davies holds off Martins for 11th and 12th. Strelitz again showing great resolve, bringing the car through to the end to finish on the lead lap. Roos threw in the towel 11 laps ago. So that's the order there for race 1, and I'm going to have to go and take some time to catch my breath and refill my drink. Don't go anywhere, we'll be back very shortly with race 2. Okay everyone, we are back. Thank you for holding on there as we've just witnessed race 1, a fantastic drive from the front 4. Anderson and Freeman putting distance between McCutcheon and the Akinen, but fighting to the very end. A couple of tenths between Anderson and Freeman, about 20 overtaking attempts. Great resolve shown by Anderson and great pressure shown by Freeman, and I can't wait for another 30 minutes of that. McCutcheon took P3 from Nyakinen in the first race. However, Nyakinen did hold P3 for a couple of laps and a couple of corners towards the end as well. So we'll see if that can be repeated. Spanu done a fantastic job as well in that Aston Martin. And we'll see if maybe they can hold on to the back of that fantastically paced front 5. But what I'm going to do now is just take a couple of minutes before the formation lap starts, just to make everyone aware that Racing Series Europe will be holding a BMW multi-class event on the 10th of June. The sign-up details are available on thesimgrid.com. If you follow Racing Series Europe, you'll be able to find more details on how to take part of this PS5 event. The track will be around Imola, and you'll be fighting in either a BMW M4 or a BMW M2. Different classes means there are positions for people to fight with all the way through the field. You'll definitely be able to find a dance partner for that one. And the main event the following week, starting Monday the 19th of June, will see Racing Series Europe host multi-class Madness Monday. There'll be GT3 and GT4 cars racing again on the same track at the same time, with a very specialist style of qualifying which I quite frankly cannot wait to take part in. That'll be great fun. Definitely check it out yourself. Again, more information available on thesimgrid.com, and that's 19th of June. Races start at 8 PM, so if you're available on the Monday night, get yourself down and have a look at that one. And through some kind of minor miracle, I've gained full control over my camera controls again, which I have lost since Friday night. So this will show some fantastic onboard shots of the race this time around, which we were robbed of not only tonight but the last couple of streams as well. GRT Jack High from car number 27. That'll be J. Ronnie. Jack, Ronnie, nice for you to join us. Glad you're watching. Hope you're enjoying the comms. And a fantastic drive from you last time out to bring the car all the way up there into P6. Hopefully we can repeat that one again. And Anderson just now gets us away from the field as we're watching Ruse. Hopefully we'll see there a bit of more of them on track this time around. As we're now watching the formation lap. Anderson gets us away. already aware of the pressure from Friedman. Can they resist another 30 minutes from the unstoppable force that is in that red Mercedes, that AMG powered engine? Räikkönen will be looking to hold on to third, that final podium position. McCutcheon looking to replicate that podium position, and maybe even more. Maybe these two can hold on to the front two, but they are pushing each other along at such a pace. I don't think they're going to have the times in them. Creators in 6th, the number 12 car. These three BMW starting alongside each other again. Two black and blue ones and one white liveried car. We'll see how those guys can get on this time. Martins showed fantastic pace last time out. Stuck behind Davies after a spin round turn 4. We'll see what they can do this time around. Car 11 car 27 Jack Ronnie in that Aston Martin, the black and blue Aston Martin, identical to Spanu. Managed to finish in Spanu's shadow. They'll be looking to go even better this time around. Mihaly in that that striking yellow and blue livery Aston Martin. I think that's fantastic. But it looks a little bit like Ranger Fallout colours. Vault Boy, one of the fantastic games of my generation. That reminds me, I'm going to call that the Fallout car going forward. Volton in the BMW, again the black and blue BMW. Davies starting at the back, makes the grid this time, not starting from the pit lane. We'll see what they can do. Hopefully no damage this time from the start. As the helicopter takes position over the final sector, Anderson will be beginning to get these guys all bunched up, ready for race 2. So we're going to have Räikkönen in third place in that copper coloured Audi, the 909 car. In the second row, McCutcheon in the Aston Martin in that T1 SR, striking livery again, that lime green, luminous green, pink and purple. Very easy to spot. Anderson as well, striking the T1 SR colours on their car. Big gap there. Careful Anderson, you don't want to get that penalty. Waiting for the green flag now for race 2.
Green light, go, go,
We've got a drive-through for Anderson. They were very far ahead of the grid slot. That is going to blow this race wide open and probably give it to Friedman. And we've got a car coming late down the outside there. I think that is Scooter down the outside. Räikkönen's retained third and putting Friedman now under pressure. Räikkönen smells a win here. Friedman on the inside, Räikkönen on the outside. Räikkönen runs a little bit wide, and that's given Friedman the freedom to take position for turn 3 and compromise Räikkönen out of turn 4. And we've got their Cooters. And we've got a car running wide on turn 4. Who is that back there? 27 car, Jack Ronnie. Running wide on turn 4 there. Cooters coming through, and the start of race 2 has just been all over the place. Anderson will be absolutely kicking himself after that start. A little bit out of their position, receiving that penalty. Martins had a fantastic start. All over now the back of Spanu and Aston Martin. We knew Martins had pace. We've seen shades of it in the last race. Roos now all over the track, now ahead of Cotton, but runs a little bit wide. That's going to allow Cotton maybe down the inside of this corner. The two cars behind, Strelitz and Volton fighting each other. Davies keeps out of trouble. The fallout car, Mihaly, the 66 Aston, down at the back. Anderson. What is going on here? Friedman's in the pits. Has Friedman had an accident? Friedman's had to go into the pits on lap 1. Anderson got a drive-through. Friedman in the pits. Räikkönen is effectively in a net first position here. And Räikkönen's put bit deep into turn 1. McCutcheon takes the apex, puts the foot down, and they're now going side by side into turn 2. And we just see McCutcheon out in front there. Makes the move stick through turn 2. And that puts McCutcheon now into a net first position. Spanu got Martins all over the rear wing as well. That Porsche has just put their clamp onto the back of that rear diffuser and is allowing the Aston to tow it along. Great driving from Martins, showing some pace this evening. Jack Ronnie in that 27. Under pressure from Roos, who ended up with in the pit lane, in the pit box for the last race. Running a little bit wide there, but no immediate danger. Strelitz up, running in 10th now, they're a bit higher for them. Friedman rejoins, 13 seconds behind Mihaly. We'll see what they can do. Taking that pit stop, but we might have missed that, maybe some damage. We'll hopefully find out a little bit more about that one as Anderson comes into the pit to serve the drive-through penalty. We'll see where they end up coming out, as McCutcheon is going to take the lead at the end of lap 2 of this finale, this final race, and there's a lot of action going on behind, as we now got Ronnie and Roos alongside each other. That's Cotton down the inside of Roos. Cotton with a great move down the inside. Strelitz, Bolton, Davies down the inside of Mihaly, or defending against Mihaly. Anderson has cleared the drive-through, but the big question is, how close are they to Friedman? Friedman and Anderson fighting through turn 1 once again. These two cannot be separated, as they're now side by side into turn 2. Friedman now has the inside line, the high ground. Will they be compromised on exit as Anderson turns in? But I think Friedman has now taken the position. Finally found a way past Anderson. It might be for P13, but he has now finally got past. The front three. Anderson, we have McCutcheon out in first. Yakinen in second, only a second behind. Spanu a further second behind them, with Martins hot on their tail. So this is the battle for the podium now, unless something drastic happens. And it looks like Jack Ronnie down the inside of Couters, and there's contact. They make contact side by side. It looked like Ronnie had that position, but Couters fought it hard and they made contact, not willing to give up. We'll see what happens with that one. That one may end up with the stewards. Roos all over the back of Cotton, with Strelitz putting them under pressure as well. Bolton just keeping touch. Davies, Mihaly and Davies, Bolton. Who is that? Martins had an issue. Martins back in 11th again behind Davies. Martins has had an issue. Went all the way down. We thought we were missing. Tries to hang it around the outside of turn 1, but understeers off the track. Is Mihaly now going to have a move down the inside? What a race we have been treated to for this final race of the season. Racing Series Hewitt putting on a fantastic show in their GT Championship all year. But we are here now on this final race. There's two 30-minute races. The second race, we're only 8 minutes in, and we have had an absolute cracker. And we've got a car off. Who is that? Looks like we've got a yellow flag as well. Number 23 car, Roos back in the pit lane. Oh dear, they've had an absolute nightmare. It looked like Strelitz maybe had an accident there, drop off a little bit. Davies leading through this pack at the back. There's so much action throughout the field. It's very, very difficult to keep up. But it looks like Davies holding off Martins again. Martins finding himself running fourth twice and then having an accident or a spin or making an error and ended up behind Davies. Mihaly in 12th. and as a testament to the speed these two are showing. Oh, and that's a move. Martin's up the inside of the second to last corner of Davies. Makes the move stick. Up into P10, and Anderson now getting past Mihaly, who looks like they've been struggling a little bit as well, but not as much as Roos, who's in the pit lane again. McCutcheon out in front, pulled out a 2-second gap from Niakanen, who is now in second place on the podium, with Spanu in third in the Aston Martin. Cooters in fourth, and that BMW doing a fantastic job. What a start from them. Jack Ronnie in the 27, Aston Martin, only half a second behind, keeping that pressure on, as is Cotton. And we've got very close driving here. Davies, Friedman and Anderson all pushing each other along. This is so close. Anderson considering down the inside, but Davies blocking that move, and that's opened up the gap for Anderson. Anderson and Friedman now side by side, going into the chicane. Anderson thinks better off it, pulls into the brakes a little bit early, looking to get a good drive off that chicane. Davies, of course, with no obligation to move out of the way for these two. These two should have to fight their way past. There is a big pace difference, and Anderson with the fastest lap of the race now. And Davies has run wide. Maybe now Davies will think better of holding these two off, but no, he's still considering a defensive manoeuvre. Anderson's down the inside. No contact this time. Davies makes a clean pass. Sensible driving from Davies. Anderson and Friedman now, I say now, still line astern. It looks potentially Niakanen closing the gap a little bit here on McCutcheon. Let's have a look at what these drivers are seeing. Niakanen runs a little bit wide there, as we'll use the onboard camera off the 909 Audi. Just listen to the car. And hard at work there, doing their best to reel in McCutcheon, who has shown some fantastic pace, but their tyres, as we've seen at the end of the last race, did begin to go off towards the end, and that will be in both of their minds as they fight for the final race, the final winner's trophy of Racing Series Europe's first debut season. And if you think watching this is looking like a lot of fun and you want to take part, don't worry, because Racing Series Europe has announced they will run their second season starting from Monday the 19th of June, and all you need to do to take part is to look at thesimgrid.com and follow Racing Series Europe for more information on how to sign up. As we're watching now, the BMW of Cotton chasing down Bolton. 4 BMWs now line astern, and this appears to be the closest battle on track. Cotton within a second of Bolton. As they come round turn 2, Bolton looks like they ran a little bit wide, and we're on board with Cotton. Bolton brings it back towards the apex. Cotton with some great driving, great hazard perception there. Doesn't force the issue. They can see the pressure they're putting on the car in front, and no need to cause damage to your car with nearly 20 minutes still to race. Track temperature has dropped down to 8 degrees, and one person who will be feeling that, having to carve their way through the field, is Will Friedman in this red Mercedes, all over the back of Jack Ronnie now. And Ronnie now feeling the pressure that Anderson felt in race 1 with that big red bonnet of that AMG Mercedes, filling the mirrors of the Aston Martin. Look at the speed difference, and Ronnie's just lost the rear this cold, slicky evening, this dusty track, and I think that's Friedman going through. And the car in front as well, Strelitz, performing very well so far. Great driving so far from Strelitz. Leaves the front inside wide open. Potentially some good driving. Knows that's not their fight today. They need to keep in front of Ronnie. Jack Ronnie behind, getting very close. Very close from these two. Strelitz moves over to the right hand side to defend and to try and break the toe. Ronnie will need to be careful they don't outbrake themselves with that. And they've got Anderson still in behind these two looking to make a move. Strelitz on the inside of that corner, tyres a little bit dusty, and that has allowed Ronnie to complete that move. Round turn one, that's some fantastic driving. This battle though is now allowing Friedman to catch up on the front. Guys, they were only halfway through. Friedman has been in the pits and back out into P6, and I would not rule them out of this just yet. It looks like Davies has maybe had a bit of an accident. They're now 17 seconds off the back of Martin's just coming round turn one now, and the yellow flag's out for Davies. Have they lost the rear? And I think that's maybe Davies throwing in the towel for this evening. That could be the last action we see of them tonight. We'll just watch Cotton being, it looks like, is that Friedman now in front of Cotton? No, it's not. It's Cotton chasing down Bolton still within a second. Big battle going on back here, it looks like. Still Strelitz, Anderson and Couters. Let's have a little look at what Anderson can see as we come on board with Mr. Anderson in the 888 Porsche. The pole position runner all over the back of Strelitz. It looks like that BMW potentially has a bit of damage on the back for good measure as well. And you can see the problem Anderson has carving the way through the pack. That Porsche just does not have the same straight line speed. The BMW pulling away even though the Porsche has the slipstream. But look at the traction difference as we hit the halfway point on this final race of the season. Anderson looks at the inside and there's contact. A little bit of contact and almost takes out Couters. I think Anderson's doing the gentlemanly thing. These two both being gentlemanlike and not wanting to take the position, both feeling responsible for the accident. Anderson trying to let Strelitz continue ahead, but I think Strelitz has now thrown in the towel for this evening as well after that bit of contact. And then there were 12, 11. Started off with 15 tonight. Sorry, 14. I'm a spectator. Started off with 14, now down to 11. Final race of the season, proving to be a little bit of a war of attrition. McCutcheon out in front after 9 laps. We've not watched these guys because the action has been so good throughout the field. McCutcheon leads the race, but still only 1.2 seconds ahead of Niakanen, who has kept the pressure on, who will not allow McCutcheon out of his sight this evening. Niakanen can smell that win and desperately wants to bring that home to Audi. And Spanu doing a fantastic job in that final podium position in the 18 Aston Martin. Fantastic drive from them, they've done really well. Volton again, another driver who has done fantastic. Cotton putting the pressure on at the back, but you'll never guess who has managed to catch up with these two. It's the smoking Frenchman, Will Friedman, in that red Mercedes, really applying the pressure I'm telling you, Friedman's got this. Friedman's going to win this. He's going to come through the pack. He's got the pace to do so. I can see Friedman definitely on the podium, potentially challenging for the win come the end of this race. They've shown fantastic pace tonight, and I really think that they could do the remarkable thing here and have it to pit on that first lap. We didn't catch why. We don't know the why, but we do know the how, and we are seeing just how much speed that Mercedes-Benz has. I was about to call it a Ferrari as it's red, but it's a Mercedes-Benz. And did Cotton just let them go, not wanting to lose any time battling the Mercedes, with the thought that Bolton might make a mistake and maybe Cotton can move up a position? What a race we're having tonight. Fantastic driving from everyone involved, as has been the case all season long. So as we come on board now with Mr. Friedman in that Mercedes-Benz, we see Bolton taking that wide line through that corner, but straightens up the exit and gets the car very wide for turn 3. A good line to try. That Mercedes just looks so stable over the curbs in the hands of Friedman. Testament to the car control. Anderson still 2 seconds behind Martins. Potentially still maybe thrown in the towel after that drive through. Not physically but mentally still continuing on. There are still points to be had for P11. But it has been a champion's drive from Will Friedman. Again, you see that closing speed. He's able to brake so much later than the 55 BMW in front and still carry the extra speed through there as well. Both of these guys liking to... Friedman thought about taking the move down the inside there. Now it's going to happen. We've got here Friedman pulls out to the inside, down on the brakes, and we see again the braking prowess of that Mercedes. It's such a delicate foot on the brake pedal. And Friedman moves up now into P4. Next up the road, Spanu in the Aston Martin. We'll see just as we come through the timing gates how far back Friedman is. So 10 seconds, 10 seconds behind over 9 minutes. Can Friedman do the unthinkable and recover from the pit stop and get himself onto the podium in the finale, in the final race? A champion doing a champion's drive. McCutcheon out there in P1, but unable this time to shake Niakanen. And Niakanen will be thinking again just how quickly the tyres of McCutcheon went off at the end of that last race. And will be thinking, I need to keep myself in touch with McCutcheon. Niakanen, of course, only participating in the last couple of races at Racing Series Europe, not quite in the championship picture, but I can promise you they will be come June 19th for Season 2 in the multi-class GT3 GT4 Championship being hosted by Racing Series Europe. And it's all gone from bad to worse for Martins, who's just been handed a drive-through penalty for not observing track limits. They are in 10th, but they are second last of the current runners, and that's Anderson now going through to take P10, and Martins having to clear the drive-through in the pit lane. A race for Martins to forget. This meeting actually not went well for them. So let's see, we're now on board with Cotton, still 1 second behind Bolton. Doing a good job, both of these guys lapping at about the same pace. And we're now in that part of the race, that tricky part. It's cold. These drivers have been pushing these tyres very hard. And with the cold temperatures, that might... Hold on a second, what have we just missed? Bolton, looks like they've made a mistake, and that's put Cotton through into 5th, the BMW driver up into P5. Great race, great performance in race 2 from Cotton. We'll see if Bolton can keep the pressure on and maybe fight back. We did miss that one, unfortunately. And what's happened with Niakinen? Niakinen's dropped 10 seconds back and into the hands of Spanu. Niakinen's had an incident, and that's a lot of damage on the front of that Audi. Spanu is going to take P2. There's only 5 minutes left. Niakinen has had an incident. They've been in the wall. The lights are flickering. You can see the electronics on the front of that car are not going to be working properly. Niakinen's been in the wall. That's a big accident. That's so unfortunate for them, but we're now about to watch Spanu, who has driven almost flawlessly this evening. We've got a yellow flag out as well. Volton's in the wall. Volton has been in the wall, and they're going to reverse it into the path. No! No! Wait until there's a gap. Oh, that was so close. I think Ronnie nearly had the fright of their life. I don't know who it was actually that went through there. But the fear of Mihaly and Cooters as they must have went round that corner. It looks like now Spanu is now in front of Niakinen. Spanu will take P2. McCutcheon now can breathe. McCutcheon can relax. Not too much, but McCutcheon now can take a breath and focus on driving as Niakinen does feel the need to jump into the pit lane. Spanu in P2, 16 seconds behind McCutcheon. But now we are on because we have the champion in waiting, Friedman, 4 seconds behind Spanu. With 4 seconds to go, they are catching at a rate of 1 second a lap. These two are going to be so close with each other come that final lap. Bolton still continues on, not feeling the need to jump in the pit. However, Martins, instead of driving through the pit lane, has just decided, nope, I am getting out of the car. I am going for some, whatever the local delicacy is, they will be going for some food, perhaps an ice cream, because their night and season is over. Anderson not able to carve their way through the field the same way as Friedman has, still down there in ninth. They are making the move through as Bolton does indeed feel the need to pit. Are we seeing the end of Bolton's season this evening? Niakinen still in that pit lane, so I mean there's still something to fight for. Bolton now coming into the pit lane. All these cars in that pit lane are about to drop a lap behind the leader as McCutcheon goes through now to start lap 16 out in the lead. We have got 3 minutes left and Friedman is 3 minutes behind Spanu. The sweat must be pouring off Spanu's head right now as the pressure from that red Mercedes will be slowly building. Mihaly Anderson so close now fighting. Cooter's just in front of them. Yeah, I just love that yellow and blue together. It looks so good. Anderson again takes that tight line through there, through that final corner. Miele will have the straight line speed advantage. Anderson will have the slipstream and the braking advantage. That Porsche is so good on corner entry. It looks like the Aston's went a little bit deep. The Porsche takes the apex, will have great drive out of that corner. Now these two are so close and they're almost touch. But Mihaly does see the Porsche coming and doesn't have an accident. Spanu now only has a 2-second buffer. And we can see them in the same shot. They're now so close to each other. And the other battle we have to look at is Couters and Anderson all over now the back of the BMW. So both Freeman and Anderson giving us a show right to the very end of the season. These two have done so much for Racing Series Europe, and I think Couters just does not want to get involved, doesn't want to lose any time battling a car that is inevitably going to be in front of them. However, there was only a minute 20 left. Actually really struggling with the handling of that car. 1 minute left. 1 minute 10 seconds. I think this might be the final lap, as MCC 001 flashes on the front of the Aston Martin. McCutcheon doing a fantastic job. We'll need to see where this puts them in the championship, because this has been a fantastic showing from McCutcheon at this meeting, with a P3 and a P1. Räikkönen now looks like they've rejoined down in 9th. 3/4 of a lap behind. And these two are now very close. Friedman can see Spanu just in front, and that will be spurring them on. McCutcheon only a couple of corners in front of these two. Coming round the second to last corner, the T1 SR driver comes round the final turn and is going to take P1 off Season 1, Race 10, Hungaroring, across the line. Mr. McCutcheon finishes in first place. Spanu is looking like they're going to hold off Friedman. Friedman flashing his lights. Spanu takes P2 and takes the second spot on the podium, and Friedman comes home as Racing Series Europe Season 1 champion. As the fireworks go off, Cotton rounds the last corner, who again has done a fantastic drive this evening, especially in race 2, to take 4th place. Jack Ronnie in the 27 Aston Martin comes through in 5th. That's 1, 2 and 5 for Aston Martin this evening in race 2. Anderson, after the drive-through penalty, battles back to 6th place. Fantastic recovery drive from Anderson. Couters comes through in 7th with a very difficult to handle BMW, and another Aston Martin in P8. Räikkönen has finished the race in the pits a lap down. Volton continuing to keep it going, son. You're doing well. Doing the job of the owners of the circuit, cutting the grass there for them. Such a thoughtful drive. But Volton, I think, is going to come round this corner and complete another lap. And they do, and that puts them up into P10. So we have McCutcheon, Spanu in 1 and 2. Let's have a look through them. McCutcheon actually takes the win on the podium. Great drive from Mr. McCutcheon in race 2. Spanu in P2. Great drive, take advantage of the issue from Yakinen. Friedman with the new Racing Series Europe champion with a champion's drive. A pit stop on lap 1, battles back to P3, only 7/10 behind Spanu at the end. One more lap is what he will be saying under his helmet. Cotton in 4th. Again, solid drive from the BMW driver. Done everything they could to pressure the people around them and ended up doing well. Ronnie still on track, doing a lap of honour. One more lap, he says, as he goes round, as he does not want the season to end. In 5th, Anderson, again, great drive from them. They've done a fantastic job tonight, winning race 1, recovering to 6th in race 2 after the drive-through penalty for being out of position at the start. Couters takes 7th. Mihaly in my favourite paint job of the evening in 8th. Yakinen had a bit of an accident there, has left the server now, but they finished P9. Volton in 10th. Martins with a drive-through 5 laps from the end decided, nope, I will not be driving through the pits in 11th. Strelitz in 12th. Davies 13th and Roos 14th, thrown in the towel, and also now left the server. So that is going to be us this evening from Racing Series Europe. Thank you very much for tuning in, and if you are watching at a later point, thank you very much for watching all the way through. My name is Gordon Captain, otherwise known as Gaming with Gordo. You can find me on YouTube and Twitch. I have been streaming tonight Racing Series Europe, and if you want to take part, again, let me just run down for you that Racing Series Europe will be hosting on PlayStation 5 a BMW multi-class special on Saturday the 10th of June, starting 7 PM. M2s versus the M5s, sorry, the M4s, and that will be at Imola. And the following week, starting June the 19th, Monday the 19th of June, multi-class Monday by Racing Series Europe on PS5. Season 2 GT3s and GT4 cars were on the same track, all fighting together. What a season that is going to pan out to be, and again, you can find out all the sign-on details, all the details you need for more information on thesimgrid.com. Just follow Racing Series Europe for more information. That's us for this evening. Thank you very much for tuning in. Take care until the next time. Good night.